guess we both decided to be boobalicious today.
Bit of plunging tatas.
Yeah, it's hot. So, and
it sure is.
We don't want the boobs. Well, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying it's hot. But we don't want our boobs to sweat, so we had to give them some ventilation. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Relationshit, our weekly after show about our podcast, Relationshit. We are your hosts, the Critellis. I'm Marko.
I'm Tony.
And it is another fabulous week of the podcast.
Yay!
And we're so excited to be here for another Friday edition of the show. What an interesting topic we talked about this week. And we didn't get a lot of time to talk about it on the podcast because our interview with one Mr. Stephen Lowe ended up running over just a teeny bit.
Well, it should have. It was an important conversation.
It should have. It was an amazing conversation, and we're so thankful for it. But that being said, we had a really interesting topic to talk about as well. And it's the concept of hating and loving your partner at the same time. It's so interesting. I know I go through it often, but do you find that you go through loving and hating me simultaneously?
Yes.
Okay.
Regularly.
Samesies. Like right now when I see that you have something on your lip.
Why would you hate over that?
Because you just don't be paying attention. But that being said, it's a very interesting concept. And what I actually enjoyed about the articles that we read and the things that we learned through this is it's actually really normal. It's not abnormal to have moments of hate for your partner.
Yeah, for me, I think that it was a really difficult journey to understand that contradictory emotions can both be true at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That was always hard for me. It was always such an extremist. Either things are good or they're bad. But
sure,
things can be both good and bad.
Yeah, there are going to be moments. They're not going to be, in a perfect world, we're going to love one another all the time, right?
But there is no perfect world.
There is no perfect world, and we don't live in one. And so why would we think that would be expected?
Mm-hmm.
When instead we can acknowledge when we're annoyed or frustrated or not really fond of our partner and just live in that and let that be the reality and then just move on from that, right?
Move back into love.
And then move back into love and then let it ebb and flow, which I think is super helpful. So we read an amazing article on the podcast that you all should definitely make sure you check out. In the show notes, we have that article and it was on yourtango.com. But today we read from Psychology Today, which, as we know, is one of our favorite pieces of website that we get to pick some bits of information and things of that nature. Yeah. So we read an article by Aaron Ben Zeev, PhD, and it's Hating the One You Love. I hate you, but I love you. Love can become a fertile ground for the emergence of hate. What did you gather from this?
What I said earlier about how these diametrically opposed feelings can occur, exist, coexist, and still be okay. I found it was really interesting that he said that hate is kind of this one-faceted feeling, whereas love is more multifaceted. I found that interesting, and I really liked, too, that he said that, you want your love to be, just with you and your partner, but you want your hate to be shared by multiple people. I found that interesting, too, that, I love you and I don't need anyone else to tell me why it's so great that I love you and we're in love and that's fine. But I'm angry at you, so I want everyone to know what a jackass you are. That's interesting.
It's a very interesting concept, isn't it? What I really liked about this article is that it literally played on both concepts, right? It played on the concept of loving somebody and how they make you happy, and then how at the same time it's very quick and easy for them to do something that you end up hating. And oftentimes we end up making what they do the reason why we hate them, as opposed to just hating them, hating the action. And we really have to be careful of doing that within itself. But for the most part, we need to own hating one another at times, and how responsible that is at the end of the day.
It's true. There's a really good small paragraph that I just want to read to you because it really struck me. It says, "Love can become a fertile ground for the emergence of hate. When the intensity and intimacy of love turns sour, hate may be generated. In these circumstances, hate serves as a channel of communication when other paths are blocked, and it functions to preserve the powerful closeness of the relationship in which both connection and separation are impossible." And I find that to be such an interesting concept that anger and hatred, they always get such a bad rap, but this idea that it could be a channel for communication, that it is a method by which we talk to each other, and recognizing that and letting that be true, and like maybe removing some of the stigma from that, and perhaps talking about like, okay, it's not the best way to communicate, so what else can we work on? Like, I think that's really interesting.
Well, I always say that one of the reasons why I like to think that I'm a great communicator is because when something frustrates me, I don't let it fester.
Mm-hmm.
I have to vocalize it right away. And a lot of what I end up vocalizing becomes a hatred, right? It becomes things that like are super frustrating or annoying or irritating to me that I have to point out to you so you know and understand where I'm at in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like super helpful because it gives me an opportunity to talk to you about what's going on, and it actually opens up a lot of communication and makes things a lot better, and so that's like super helpful.
It can, yeah,
I really appreciate that. So it's a great episode. You guys need to check it out. Make sure you listen to the podcast, and then let us know a little bit about your experiences with loving and hating your partner simultaneously. We are very curious to hear about that. Before we end the episode, we did want to bring up really quickly that Tony and I and the Relationshit podcast were nominated within the LGBTQ category of the Podcast Awards. It's the 15th annual anniversary of the Podcast Awards, and throughout the month of July, they are accepting all sorts of votes and nominations and things of that nature to make sure that they pick a winner by the end of the month, and it is your responsibility to make sure that Relationshit wins. So, if you go to the link in our bio, we take you to the very front page of the Podcast Awards website. And then right up at the top, it says something to the nature of like, click here to nominate my best podcast or something like that.
It's almost exactly what it says.
Yeah. And so you can click on that and then go to the LGBTQ category and then vote for Relationshit there. Mm-hmm. Please vote for us because we absolutely 100% want to win this. It would be amazing. It would make me feel so happy.
So it's on the landing page of our website. It's also podcastawards.com, right?
Yep. And the link is in the bio. So you can
link is in the bio. So you got a couple of ways to go. Tell all your friends.
And your family. And your neighbors and everybody else.
And your fourth cousin twice removed.
Absolutely. That being said, you guys, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you for joining us this week and giving a little bit more of a conversation to this week's topic.
Make sure you visit our website, podrelationship.com, for more relationship content and information about the podcast, as well as the place to vote for the awards.
Absolutely. And while you're there, fill out our listener situation or email us at relationshipquestions@gmail.com. Once a month, Tony and I will answer your questions on the podcast and do our best to give a teeny bit of guidance.
If you're not a Patreon member already, head to patreon.com/podrelationship and start donating today. You get early access to really good content and some exclusive behind-the-scenes stuff, too.
And we work with a bunch of really great partners, Parasso-USA.com for all of your shave and beard needs, BetterHelp.com/Critellis for any teletherapy that you may need to visit. So make sure you go to those people and get discounts and all kinds of goodies from that stuff.
Make sure you hop on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook to continue the conversation. We are at Pod Relationship on all platforms. Have a great rest of the week. We'll talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.